Welcome to the Book of Days Project. Pardon the hoarse voice, but it took this harsh, severe winter all the way till February the 4th to lay me low with a hoarse voice and for me to succumb to any type of illness. Knock on wood. Today is February 4th, and I will read to you from the Book of Days. That is our purpose, to read from the Book of Days every day of the calendar year 2009. Born on this day, George Lillo, dramatist, 1693, in Moorgate. Died Lucius Septimus Severus, 211, in York. Yes, a Roman emperor who died in England, York. Also born on this day, Giambattista Porta, natural philosopher, inventor of the Camera Obscura in 1615 in Naples, Napoli. Louis, Duke of Orleans, 1752. It's a feast day of Saint Phileas and Philoromus, martyrs in Egypt, circa 309. Also the feast day of Saint Isidore of Pelusium in 449. The Emperor Severus. Several of the Roman emperors had visited Britain, but Severus was the only one who came to die in this distant island. Britain had then been a Roman province full 100 years, and as such had become peaceable and prosperous. For even the Caledonians in the north had ceased to be troublesome. The Roman roads, with accompanying towns, had been carried up to the borders of the wild highlands. A still greater proof of the prosperous state of this province is found in the circumstances that its governors could interfere actively in the affairs of the continent, raise formidable rebellions, and even contend for the empire. Such was the case when in AD 193 the imperial throne of Rome became an object of dispute between three competitors: Severus, Paetiones Niger, and Albinus, the last being governor of Britain. Albinus marched with the legions of Britain and soon made himself master of Gaul. But Severus, to equal courage and great military skill, joined an amount of craft and treachery which soon gave him the superiority over both his rivals. Having defeated and slain Niger, he reached Rome with his troops in 196 and, hastening to Gaul, fought the great battles of Lyons on the 19th of February 197, in which Albinus also perished. Severus, thus left master of the empire, had his attention soon called to the state of Britain. It appears that during these events the Caledonians up north had again become formidable, partly through some great ethnological change which was going on in the north. Partly it is conjectured through an immigration on a large scale of foreign tribes, perhaps from the north of Europe. Losing my voice. Virius Lupus, the new protractor or governor of Britain, appointed by Severus, found himself unable effectually to repress their turbulency, and he was obliged in the year 208 to write to the emperor for assistance. Severus displayed in this last act of his life all the qualities which had raised him to power. He determined to assist his proprietor in person, and although it was already late in the year, he collected his army, took with him his two sons, Caracalla, the baths of Caracalla, and Greta, and arriving in Britain in an incredibly short space of time, fixed his court at the city then called Eburacum, but now York, which was a station of the 6th Legion of Rome. What else can I tell you of this day? Chambers made little note of it. Let us then talk of a royal speech by candlelight. The opening day of the session of Parliament in 1836, February 4th, was unusually gloomy, which added to an imperfection in the sight of King William IV, and the darkness of the House, that is the House of Parliament, rendered it impossible for His Majesty to read the royal speech with facility. Most patiently and good-naturedly did he struggle with the task, often hesitating, sometimes mistaking, and at others correcting himself. On one occasion he stuck altogether, and after 2 or 3 ineffectual efforts to make out the word, he was obliged to give it up. When turning to Lord Melbourne, who in the face, he said in a tone sufficiently loud to be audible in all parts of the house, "Hey, what is it? Lord Melbourne," having whispered the obstructing word, the king proceeded to total the speech. But by the time he got to about the middle, the librarian brought him 2 wax lights, on which he suddenly paused, then raising his head and looking at the Lord of Commons and Commons, he addressed them on the spur of the moment in a perfectly distant voice and without the least embarrassment or the mistake of a single word. In these terms he said, "My lords and gentlemen, I have hitherto not been able, from want of light, to read this speech in the way its importance deserves, but as lights are now brought me, I will read it again from the commencement, and in a way which I trust will command your attention." The king then again, though evidently fatigued by the difficulty of reading the first instance, began at the beginning, and read through the speech in a manner which would have done credit to any professor of elocution. In the reign of Henry IV was built a library in Durham College, now Trinity College, Oxford, for the large collection of books of Richard of Bury, said it consists of more volumes than all the bishops of England had then in their possession. Richard had bestowed certain portions of his valuable library upon a company of scholars residing in a hall at Oxford, and he drew up a provident arrangement by which books may be lent to strangers, meaning students of Oxford not belonging to that hall. The custody of the books was deputed to 5 of the scholars, of which 3, and in no case fewer, could lend any books for inspection and use only, but for copying and transcribing. They did not allow any book to pass without the walls of the house. And when any scholar, whether secular or religious, was qualified for the favor and demanded the loan of a book, keepers, provided they had a duplicate of the book, might lend it to him, taking a security exceeding in value the book lent. The reader may smile at the caution, but we have known some possessions of books in our own day to adopt similar rules. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the King's royal speech by candlelight. I must investigate. Thank you for joining us. My voice doth giveth out. Do join again and do participate in the Book of Days Project, February 4th. Ciao.